Ibadallah, ittaqullah. We praise and thank Allah for the givings He gave without Allah, the Exalted, being obligated to give anything. And we ask Allah to raise the rank of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the ranks of his wives, believing relatives, companions, and those who follow them sincerely until Judgment Day. And we ask Allah to protect the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from that which he feared for his nation. Thereafter, I order myself, as I order you, to fear Allah the Exalted by performing all of the obligations and refraining from every sin. Fellow Muslims, Allah Ta'ala ordered us with certain matters that are obligatory upon us, and so it is forbidden for us to neglect them. And Allah the Exalted forbid us from other matters, and so it is prohibited for us to perform them. And among the things that Allah the Exalted obligated upon the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is paying the zakat. This matter became an obligation the second year after the immigration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Mecca to Al-Madinah. As zakat is among the 5 greatest matters of Islam, the 5 pillars upon which Islam is built, as was mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Buniya al-Islamu ala khams. So dear Muslim brothers and sisters, are you among those who are obligated to pay the zakat? And if so, have you learned the matters about zakat? What are the items subject to zakat? And have you learned how much you have to pay and what exactly you must give? And have you learned about the categories of people whom deserve the zakat? Fellow Muslim brothers and sisters, if someone has things that are due upon them, items that are subject to zakat, then one must learn the details pertaining to the obligatory zakat, so that one can perform this most important obligation in accordance with the rules of the religion. As zakat is an obligation if one owns camels, cows, sheep, and goats. Also, zakat is due upon the one who owns the date palm trees or the grapevines that produce raisins and the like, or the staple crops that people eat at regular times, such as wheat, barley, corn, chickpeas, and the like. Also, zakat is an obligation upon gold and silver, whether one owned that through buying, or they received it as a gift, or even if they extracted it from the ground. Or even if one found some gold buried, and it was buried at a time before the Prophet ﷺ came with the message, and it was found in a public land. So if one owned any of these mentioned things, one must learn if their zakat is due and how much exactly to pay. As zakat is also an obligation on trade articles. Trade articles are what the person buys and sells for the purpose of making a profit. Whether it was buying chickens so that he could sell those chickens for a profit, or he bought iron, for example, so that he could in turn sell it and make a profit, or clothing, or other things that one would trade in. So if one trades, if one is considered a tradesperson, then one must learn if there is a zakat due on them and how much exactly to pay. So, the aforementioned is, in brief, what the zakat is due upon. Camels, cows, sheep, goats, the fruit of the date palm and the grapevine, the nutritious staple crop grains that are eaten at a time of choosing, gold, silver, and trade articles. Then there is zakatul fitr, the zakat that is due at the end of Ramadan, when Ramadan ends. And this is due on behalf of people who are alive the last part of Ramadan and the first part of Shawwal, the month that comes right after Ramadan. So it is an obligation upon the Muslim, and on behalf of the Muslim, he is obligated to support. So the Muslim, if he has prepubescent poor children, poor parents, for example, then he is obligated to pay the zakat al-fitr on himself and on them. Brothers and sisters, many people do not pay the obligatory zakat, and many may pay less than the amount that is actually due upon them. And some people may pay zakat to those who do not deserve it. They give it to other than the categories that Allah the Exalted mentioned in the Quran. So the accountable person who is obligated to pay the zakat must learn the details pertaining to how one fulfills this most important obligation properly. The one who neglects doing so needs to make up what he missed, and he needs to repent, because not paying the due zakat or delaying paying it without a religiously valid excuse is an enormous sin. As the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, which means, may Allah's damn be upon the one who consumes the usurious gain, al-riba, and the one paying the usurious gain, and the one who does not pay the obligatory zakat. The one who does not pay the obligatory zakat will be presented on the Day of Judgment with that money in the shape of a huge snake surrounding him, telling him, I am your money. I am the wealth you treasured. Brothers and sisters, do not be among such people. Rather, be among the ones who are praised in the Quran when Allah the Exalted said, رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار. Obey Allah the Exalted, brothers and sisters, and perform the obligations before you die, before the day where money will have no benefit. May Allah the Exalted facilitate for you obeying Him, and may Allah the Exalted forgive my sins and yours. Ask Allah to forgive me. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين عباد الله اتقوا الله. We praise and thank Allah the Exalted for all of the givings He gave without Allah being obligated to give anything. And we ask Allah to raise the rank of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, and the ranks of his wives, believing relatives, and companions, and those who follow them sincerely until Judgment Day. And we ask Allah to protect the nation of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam from what the Prophet feared for his nation. And you should know that Allah the Exalted ordered you with something great. He ordered you to send the salah and the salam upon his Prophet. For He the Exalted said in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم إنا دعوناك فاستجب لنا دعاءنا فاغفر اللهم لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأقم الصلاة.